Welcome back to Nightcap Chat, the pop culture, comics, and gaming podcast. Today we are talking about superhero casting reactions and discuss the X-Men as we fan cast them for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm Blade O'Neill.
I'm Ken Brown.
So Robert Pattinson is going to be our new Batman.
Yes.
And there is a lot of negative reaction I'm seeing over that.
Yes.
But that's almost par for the course, at this point, with casting and Batman casting in general.
I think these movies have been so high profile and so well received by not only our comic culture, but by Hollywood fans or moviegoers in general. They're so ready to judge what's going to happen before it even hits the theaters. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember we did the same thing about Heath Ledger.
That's
being the Joker.
Always the prime example, isn't it?
Yes, because I remember saying Brokeback Joker. What are you talking about? How can this guy be the Joker?
Brokeback Mountain, A Knight's Tale. Where did you get that?
As the Joker.
And now he's probably one of the most iconic, superhero performances ever. Although, flip side of the coin, I would argue, if he didn't unfortunately die, that maybe it would be regarded differently. But he did do a fantastic job.
He was supposed to be in the third movie too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just like that. Certain people, when they get casted, people just don't see it at all. And then when it's over, it's like, oh my gosh, dude, how did this happen? Like, this is one of the best efforts I've ever seen out of any actor that could ever play this character. Mm-hmm. And, I think you may see that same thing with the new Batman casting. And I don't know. He said, too, it's like until the movie's over, I don't think we can judge. I mean, the whole thing, too, is like, I didn't even like Chris Evans being Captain America because I had the mind of Human Torch in his mind.
Yes, I completely agree with that. When I first saw that, I was like, well, they blew it.
Yes.
What are they going to do?
He's already been the Human Torch. This kid's a cocky, do you know what I mean? SOB ladies man.
Yep.
And then you have Captain America, Mr. ethics, Mr. Loyalty, Mr. Righteousness. And how do you get that out of Chris Evans? But obviously these guys that are more or less the producers and the
casting directors,
call directors, they read the scripts and they see it.
And
we're
not there for the auditions. Like, we don't know what they're doing.
Yes. And Chris Evans, he showed me he's got some of the most range I've ever seen out of any actor by pulling that off. He had no hint of Johnny Storm inside of Steve Rogers at all.
I cannot even imagine another actor doing it or doing a better job. Like, he was Captain America and he did a phenomenal job. And it really, shut me up.
Yeah, he was in Not Another Teen Movie making banana splits out of himself. You know what I mean? He was kind of going down that road of being a satirical actor. Mm-hmm. And he did do that one movie in space where they're all stuck on the space station looking at the sun. I can't remember what it was called, but I think that was the first serious role that someone showed to me. And I'm going, because I was kind of puzzled by it. I go, dude, it's like Chris Evans is Captain America. I don't see it. Then someone said, dude, watch this movie and you'll get it. And afterwards, like, oh man, he did a serious role. I get it, kind of like Michael Keaton, as he said too, going back to the Batman castings. It's like Michael Keaton was a comedic actor, but he tested well being Batman. Yeah,
he's like, oh, Beetlejuice is Batman. Or I keep forgetting, what did we say it was?
Mr. Mom.
Thank you.
Yes, and Beetlejuice, you're exactly right. I'm going, Beetlejuice, Batman. No, I don't know about that. But it worked really well. And he's still, some people think he's the best Batman.
I think that performance even holds up till today. Even his iconic, like, I want you to tell people about me. Like, I'm Batman. That's what everyone strives to be. Like, when they do play Batman, like, they want to be, I'm Batman. And then his Bruce Wayne was great.
Yes,
and it was like they were two different people,
Yes, it's like you believe that, Bruce Wayne could be Batman. Do you know what I mean? And still be that actor, Michael Keaton, obviously playing both roles in that action. And I said, too, that's where I think partially what happened with Val Kilmer and George Clooney is they executed one element of the character, but had a hard time executing both elements of the character.
But, they're both very talented actors. So, a lot of that probably came from not only the script writing, but the director.
That's true.
That, especially looking back on the movie, like, they're so campy, they're so cheesy. I mean, what Joel Schumacher was trying to accomplish was like night and day compared to Tim Burton or even the other side of that spectrum, the Christian Bale. What's the director?
Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, thank you. So I mean, they didn't have to do a bad job, and I wouldn't necessarily blame them.
Yes,
that's what it comes down to.
That's what it was, just different feels. I mean, it's that too. Tim Burton had such that dark Gotham City feel to the movies, and Then Joel Schumacher kind of went more, I'd like to say, 66 Batman style with the third and fourth movies.
Totally.
And you could tell he was a big fan of the Adam West, Burt Ward Batman
especially stuff. Like the stuff that, you know, Mr. Freeze was saying, and the way Bane just walked around saying, he's like, oh, Bane, oh.
Riddler and Two-Face.
Oh, yes.
Going, gosh, dude, Jim Carrey's Riddler was great, but I felt Tommy Lee Jones bought in too much to the comedy element of being around Riddler rather than being his strict Two-Face, I make my own luck type of thing that Aaron Eckhart did, I thought, amazingly during the Christopher Nolan run.
And to me, like, that was way too short-lived. Two-Face is probably my favorite Batman villain. Yes. And I was very disappointed that, I mean, he had a really good run in there, but that it just got cut off, you know, so short.
Yeah, the Harvey Dent element of that story, I think, helped make that movie so well. I mean, that movie had, I think, the right chemistry of making the perfect meal. Do you know what I mean? For Batman fans, you got the Joker in there executed right. He had Harvey Dent likable. You know, even though we kind of wish we had more Two-Face. Yeah. Even though, you know, and they made it look as realistic as they could of his face being burnt in half.
They almost took it too far because, I mean, like, the way his muscles and stuff were exposed, like, you could only live like that so long without that being infected. Like, you got to, I mean, I'm not a medical expert, but like, you got to do something about that.
Yes. And it was just, as I said too, it was just, everything was really executed really well in that story. I mean, oh gosh, dude, I can't remember the name of the girlfriend that was both Bruce Wayne's and Aaron Eckhart's girlfriend.
Oh, it was Katie Holmes in the original. And then it got taken over by Maggie Gyllenhaal. Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel Dawes. Yes. Right? Thank you, dude.
I was trying to imagine Aaron Eckhart saying, Rachel!
Yeah, Rachel Dawes. And just like the whole tragedy of like how they both lost something super important in their lives. I mean, it was just so well executed. The Joker didn't die at the end. Ironically, the actor who played the Joker obviously died at the end. But it was just so well executed for that third movie. And unfortunately, I said too, like that with the death of Heath Ledger, that did kind of, it was a good ending, but imagine the whole thing of instead of Scarecrow being the person that teamed up with Bane, which I think they went the change in the direction of like Joker being teamed up with Bane in more or less what would have been kind of like No Man's Land.
Interesting.
Type of ending they did for the Batman 3. Well, gosh, dude, it's been out so many years now. I'm forgetting the last Dark Knight Rises, right? Let's name the third one. And it was just, I really did appreciate the Christopher Nolan movies. I just think cinematically and actors that they chose for it. I mean, I love Tom Hardy being Bane. Once again, talked about comparison and contrasting of getting it right the second time around versus what they did with the Poison Ivy Bane. Poison Ivy, what do you mean? It's like, oh, dude, goon Bane. No, man, you broke Batman's back. You like helped almost take over Gotham City all by yourself.
Well, I mean, what they probably didn't want to understanding is like, yeah, sure, he was, you know, menacing physically, but Bane was really intelligent and calculating in the comics, and I think Tom Hardy did a great job being that intelligent, calculating Bane, but still be somewhat physically imposing, even though Tom Hardy's like 5'9" or something.
Yeah, I thought they did a brilliant job of executing those Batman 3 movies. And so, dude, all good things must come to an end. So it was a trilogy. We got 3 good movies out of it. Then
I mean, I would argue the Christian Bale casting was some of the weakest casting in the whole thing. Because I mean, all the villains were phenomenal. I mean, you got Liam Neeson, Heath Ledger did a great job, Tom Hardy, and then even you have Michael Caine as freaking Alfred. And there's so many good casting. I thought it's Christian Bale, and I guess.
I think it was the most flawed Batman if you think about it, because he doubted himself at times, and it was very kind of humanizing of Batman compared to the rest of the Batman type of storytellers we've seen.
And that's fine. I mean, I just thought he was still a little skinny, and like to me, like his face doesn't look like Bruce Wayne, like how I picture, you know, Bruce Wayne. And I think that's part of the problem I have with Robert Pattinson is like his jaw's not bad, but just his whole face like doesn't remind me of what I think Bruce Wayne looks like. I think Bruce Wayne looks more like a Josh Brolin kind of a face. I mean, but that's, you know, it's my humble opinion.
Yeah, it's like you need the Bruce Wayne to look like a intimidating, more or less powerful character inside of Gotham City at any time.
He's got to be good looking, but like to me, you know, a good Batman has a good jaw.
Yes.
You know, and I think Josh Brolin just has that Batman jaw, you know. I mean, so probably too late now. You know, he's getting a little older. He was already Thanos, already Cable. He was already Jonah Hex, right? You know, so he's going to play Batman now too.
And it sounds like we're going to get like a younger Batman. Definitely. Logan has to be then. And
definitely.
I even heard rumors that Jared Leto still be considered as Joker again for future movies.
You know, my unpopular opinion is I thought Jared Leto didn't do a bad job.
Me neither.
I think a lot of it was just the script and what they showed you, because like they obviously they reshot like half of it. So I think in the first version, Joker was going to be the main bad guy.
Yes.
I think they changed it later, that this whole thing with Enchantress. I just think he wasn't given a proper chance.
Yeah, I think that's what we talked about this in the past. Like DC, they want to throw too much out into one movie, and that's like there's actually a kind of change. And I apologize. Going in with Shazam was the first DC movie besides Wonder Woman where I felt like this is a movie that just stuck to its main premise. It didn't deviate, and I thought it was brilliant.
Yep.
And I said too, I guess what it was, I had such low expectations of Shazam after seeing Aquaman, because I had such high expectations for Aquaman.
Yeah.
I was let down. I went in with like, okay, this is going to be a kid's movie. Great. You know, maybe I'll like it. Maybe I won't. At least we're going to go see it and check it out.
Yeah.
And I was really pleased and entertained, wanting to see more of the Shazam storytelling after that movie was over.
Interesting.
Where like after seeing Aquaman, it's like, okay, that was all right. You know, I'm a little bit disappointed. I wanted to I was afraid I was going to become a huge Aquaman fan after seeing that movie, because I had no interest in Aquaman at all before. Yeah. And similarly too, is like, I don't have a whole lot of interest in Shazam. He's a cool character. But it's just, to me, it was like, okay, Superman knockoff, but a kid gets to become the Superman rather than, do you know what I mean? Superman growing up to be Superman.
Yeah.
And it was so well done of me liking both him as Billy Batson and as Shazam, like, you know, an adult in a kid's body, or a kid in an adult's body.
Yeah.
And it didn't go over too campily to me. It was obviously some camp to it, because once again, it's the story that fits. This is a kid inside of an adult's body. He's still going to act like a kid.
Absolutely.
And Zachary Levi bringing that down to that level and understanding that of like that, I'm not going to be Mr. Macho Shazam when I'm Shazam. I'm still that kid.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm in this superhero body. How can I not be excited about what I am?
Yeah. And it should be like that. I just thought they should have took the time to bulk him up or something. The suit's just so distracting.
Yeah, the muscle suit.
You know? Yeah.
It was.
Because imagine, you know, like The Rock was up for the role, but he's ultimately going to play Black Adam. Like The Rock could have totally have pulled it off. He's a very good actor, but like The Rock's a big dude. Yes. And I think to see him acting like a 15-year-old, like, you know, like I think that's very, yes, it still would have been fun, but like, it's also like, it's so much more interesting because like, you're not distracted by anything that's obviously fake.
Do you think that was kind of influenced by the kid they already chose to be the young Billy Batson?
Well, it should be irrelevant
because if they get like, can they find an actor that's got that good of skills that looks like a young Rock? Because that's what I was kind of amazed with too. It's like
I see what you're saying.
Like the young Billy Batson, I don't remember the kid actor's name, looked almost like a young Zachary Levi. And I was going, I could see the two of them being the same person. So is there someone like that where you can find like The Rock as a kid that has the same type of acting ability as the kid?
Yeah,
because the kid was super good actor just as much as Zachary Levi was.
It's just a different casting call, you know.
That's true.
I mean, I don't see why not. But I mean, The Rock should be cool as Black Adam. I mean, this will be interesting. I mean, there's already rumors that Black Adam's going to be in the next. I almost said Guardians of the Galaxy because it's
Justice League movie, or
no, the one that James Gunn's directing. Oh gosh, Suicide Squad.
Really? Black Adam might be in that. That'd be cool.
There were rumors that there would be a Black Adam cameo, so we'll see if that turns out to be The Rock still.
That'd be great. Because I said too, The Rock is an amazing actor. I got to say too, a guy that came from, you know, WWE background into being one of the biggest names in Hollywood. He surpassed Hulk Hogan. I remember Hulk Hogan tried doing that back in the 80s, and Hulk Hogan was like Mr. America at that time. I mean, he was pop culture Americana.
Absolutely.
And like The Rock taking it from a different, you know, humble beginnings of being in the wrestling world, going into Hollywood and being Mr. Universal rather than Mr. America.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can put The Rock anywhere and he's going to surprisingly pulled off, whether he's a tooth fairy or whether he is, you know inside of Fast and the Furious movies.
Yeah, I mean, he plays like the tough guy in the Fast and Furious. I mean, He does do the silly things like the Tooth Fairy, and that's whatever. But like, man, you look at a movie. Yeah, you look at a movie though, like the Get Shorty sequel, Be Cool. Did you ever see that? And he plays like this bodyguard, but he just wants to like dance, and stuff. And he's like trying to become and he was so good at it, and he's a good dancer.
Yes,
like he is just talented.
That's it too. It's an amazing when you get someone that's, as I said too, you give someone a chance, like in the Scorpion King, thinking like that. Okay, you got this more or less muscle bound wrestler that fits perfect for Scorpion King, but then he must have on the set impressed people with the fact of how quickly he caught on to what he was doing, and then just his sense of personality off camera spread really quickly among the producers in Hollywood. Hey, this guy's the real deal, and they saw like they just kept on giving him thing after thing after thing. And plus, like, once again, when Disney supports you, you kind of get that push where other people will be like, okay, Disney likes this guy, there's something there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it would be interesting to, like, I would love to see him, like, I mean, he's getting up there in age now. I mean, not to say he's call him old or anything. I would have loved to have seen him play Namor.
That would be epic. Yes, he'd be a perfect Namor, especially with Jason Momoa being Aquaman, because I thought Momoa would have been a perfect Prince Namor.
I feel like exactly what they did was
copy Namor.
I think I didn't think they did Aquaman. I think they were more concerned about beating Marvel to Namor.
Yes.
Like, to me, like, he was Namor and not even Aquaman. But I think that was more their goal, was to try to do something before Marvel, personally. But I mean, yeah, I could totally see The Rock
pulling off Namor. That'd be sick.
I think that would be awesome. Maybe introduce him as the villain in a Fantastic Four movie or something, and then just have him integrated into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Dude, I'd be all for that. That would be unbelievable to see The Rock pull off, especially with his Samoan heritage and everything too. Like Oceanic, that's totally up his alley.
Oh, speaking of casting for the MCU, I mean, we've got the X-Men coming up, hopefully, within the next couple of years. And we pretty much got a clean slate, but there's all this speculation that Ryan Reynolds is going to remain Deadpool, because I think they're proceeding with another Deadpool movie, but they're keeping Ryan Reynolds. So I guess we're going to see, are they doing the Fox Deadpool, and are they going to do a third Deadpool movie that just takes place in that trilogy? Or are they doing another Deadpool movie and just keeping Ryan Reynolds and forgetting everything else?
Maybe. Well, the whole thing too is that, breaking the fourth wall. You could also be hilariously have Deadpool be watching the movie and then all of a sudden breaking in too. Hey, you know what? Shoot, dude, I'm here. I've been there. I'm just going to input myself in there. And it would be kind of over the top stupid in some ways. And I don't think they'll ever do it that way, but that's the magic of Deadpool, dude, is Deadpool knows how to communicate with both audiences. And so if he can communicate with both audiences, does he have access to move back and forth between audiences?
I'm very opinionated about that general concept about Deadpool.
Yeah.
But he did all this time jumping at the end of Deadpool 2. So he effectively could have screwed up a ton of things within his reality, and that could justify,
pulled him into the universe.
why he's here. Because like he went back all the way to, I think, what was X-Men Origins Wolverine was the 70s, and he shot this alternate version of himself that didn't quite make sense for even existing. So like, who knows? You can do anything. As far as the fourth wall breaking, it is fourth wall breaking, but it, from a writing standpoint, I feel like it still needs to work simple within the universe, because he does exist along characters like Wolverine and Captain America. So I think it's okay to do the fourth wall breaking, and it works, but to the perspective of all the other characters around him, they should be viewing it that this guy is so crazy that he thinks we're in a movie and he's talking to nobody.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. I see what you're saying.
So I think like that's how it should be handled. And I think the Joe Kelly run like really did a good job with that, because he was still, like when we met up with Bullseye in one of the issues, and he's like, oh, hey, how long has it been? He asked Deadpool, he's like, oh, it was issue 16 when we were in Greece. So like to Bullseye, like what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
But like to everyone else, it was like, that was actually legitimately last time they crossed paths was back in issue 16. That's hysterical.
Yes, because he's talking with as he's one of the fans reading his own books.
Mm-hmm.
That would be I said too, that would be kind of epic. I said too, to get the fresh start. I guess I know what you mean, dude, too, is like that. If we do get the fresh start inside the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think the fans would be happy to see Ryan Reynolds, but not over analyzing the fact of like, this is not the same Deadpool that we were watching before, but he's such a perfect fit as long as they seamlessly introduce him into the Marvel Cinematic Universe as this is a different Deadpool.
Yep.
But we love Ryan Reynolds so much, and we know you guys love Ryan Reynolds so much. He is this universe's Deadpool as well.
And we're already introducing a multiverse, right?
Yes. And so why not? You still have your Fox Deadpool stories that were their own thing. And then, your multiverse, it could be the same person from universe to universe. And sometimes it could be, Spider-Gwen rather than Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
But there's multiple universes where they have Peter Parker is still Peter Parker.
I just hope to see Deadpool have more an important integration to like the X-Men and X-Force lore and the Weapon X program, actually getting, his DNA spliced with Wolverine. That's where he gets his healing factor from, everything with Department H. And I'm sure you would love to see Alpha Flight.
Yes.
And I think that might even be a really fun way to jumpstart having mutants introduced,
into the cinematic universe.
I think that's what they're going to end up doing with New Mutants, because that was delayed another year.
Yes.
So if Dark Phoenix is going to be this closure for the Fox movies, New Mutants already features a cast of characters that have had nothing to do with anything they've done so far. It'd be really interesting to see what these reshoots do, because if it takes place in this facility, as we've seen from the trailers, I mean, after they resolve this whole thing with was it the Demon Bear? I think the villain's called.
Yes.
What if by the end, they roll out and then Professor X finds them?
I would so hope that they would kind of make it like the Orphanage, where Mr. Sinister is the one doing all these experiments.
How interesting.
On these superhero mutants that he's more or less
I would
trying to
absolutely
foster
love
for
that.
Apocalypse.
I've been waiting for Mr. Sinister to be in one of these movies since the first one.
Yeah,
and I can't believe it hasn't happened.
Yep, and we saw the X-23 tease at the end of one of the Wolverine movies.
Exactly.
And that was it. I was going, Mr. Sinister's coming, please, let's let this go.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I said too, is they went different directions with it, hoping for future story points. And I guess what happened was they obviously got in negotiations with Disney and it's okay, we just got to tie this up with the Dark Phoenix saga and just let it be what it is.
Yep.
Tie this whole storytelling. It's a loose end. It's a dead end.
I was half suspecting, because like nobody's saying who Jessica, I forget her name, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Jessica Chastain's character, who's alongside the Dark Phoenix there. Like, no one's saying who she's playing. There was rumors that it was Lalandra or something at first, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Based on the trailer, I mean, you almost think that she's like the embodiment of the Phoenix Force.
Okay.
But what if she's Mr. Sinister?
Oh, wow. That'd be awesome. That'd be kind of crazy. I don't know how... That would be an epic introduction to Miss Sinister, Mr. Sinister, because they've had but her be.
Well, he shapeshifts, so why can't he
be Mr. or Mrs. Sinister? That would be freaking awesome.
Another theory I came up with was, what if she's just simply Emma Frost in disguise?
That's what I was just going to hit at too. Is like that maybe it's Emma Frost messing with Jean Grey's mind.
Well, according to the Dark Phoenix saga, like that totally makes sense, because having the Hellfire Club have something to do with being, part of that journey.
Yes.
It totally makes sense.
And I wish they would do that, because I mean the Hellfire Club, I haven't seen any hints inside of the movie The Hellfire Club.
They're probably not going to do it.
It's so frustrating, because that's such a great, whether it's a Netflix series or a Hulu series now that Disney's teamed up with Hulu rather than Netflix since the Fox merger, where you have a more or less a series of the Dark Phoenix saga be put out to 8 episodes, because that Hellfire Club story was absolutely a perfect setup with Mastermind trying to be Jason Wingard and screw with Jean Grey's head and try to make her think she was a Black Queen in a different time period. And like the corruption going on through her brain is like, Jean Grey is a psychic.
Yeah.
And she's never been messed with in that way. And then with the Phoenix Force even being convoluted of like, what's Jean Grey's thought process here? It was the Phoenix Force getting more confused than anything.
Yeah.
Because the Phoenix Force was with this pure of heart girl in Jean Grey. But then as Jason Wingard got into her head and made her think she was this totally different person, it also tainted the Phoenix Force into becoming the Dark Phoenix too. And I think a lot of people don't even really see the beauty in that side of the Dark Phoenix story. And if you could execute that into, I think it's too long of a story for a movie.
Yeah.
But as a short series on Netflix, on Hulu or Disney Plus now, it's masterful.
It goes to show you, like, then Fox clearly made some mistakes using characters like Jason in X-Men 2, and then wasting that whole dynamic on Professor X. And then they also kind of wasted the Hellfire Club being the antagonists of First Class, which they didn't even need to really be there. But I mean, you had this, terrible version of Emma Frost who was so bland, which, was very disappointing. Kevin Bacon actually surprised me. Like he did a pretty good job.
Well, the whole purpose of the Hellfire Club was to compete for the services of mutants.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least the school, the Hellfire Club obviously was a mutant high society, mutant culture, trying to more or less get mutants into their stables to help take over the world in the long term. But Emma Frost was the Professor X of their school.
Yes.
They were in a recruiting war over Kitty Pryde, what everybody forgets how that whole story started. And nobody ever seems to integrate that element of master storytelling in the movie side of it. Hopefully. And I think they're afraid of it, or they don't think the fans will think it makes sense, but it's pretty simple laid out. It was one of the best stories in X-Men history.
I think it could be a really neat, like, secret society, Illuminati of mutants, kind of a thing. And it would be interesting to see if the Marvel Cinematic Universe can slowly introduce them, and that way we can have like this more of a build up. Because then it's one thing to bring in the Hellfire Club for the Dark Phoenix story, but if you already introduce them in the backgrounds, pulling the strings on certain other issues, you don't need to waste time introducing them. Like the people know who they are, and that way you could maybe do the Dark Phoenix saga within like 2 movies.
Well, have you ever read the X-Men Deadly Genesis storyline?
Maybe.
There was a point where Professor X tried recruiting Emma Frost into the X-Men.
Okay.
And he went to the Hellfire Club mansion.
Oh.
And more or less he knew the mutant was there.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, Emma Frost was still more or less I guess, how would you say it? I don't want to say prostitute, but she was a entertainer for.
I say that's why she was dressed scantily.
Yes. And so Professor X more or less arranged a private meeting with Emma. To more or less not to get, but to try to recruit her into the X-Men. And then Emma Frost felt Professor X get into her mind, and she's a psychic too.
Interesting.
And she felt more or less like she was pissed because it's like that. It's usually her thing. That's how she seduces the guy into more money or not doing anything, just makes them feel like they have an experience that she never even more or less touched.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Which was really brilliant on Emma Frost saying, oh, sure, dude. You know what I mean? She's always in control. And that was the first time she walked into a room with another mutant that had more mind control than she did. And that kind of more or less, Professor X tried more or less engaging her to join the X-Men, and she said, no effing way, you freaking,
wow.
Like you freaking jerk breaking into my mind at the ironic time. That's what she does to everybody.
Yeah.
But someone did it better to her. And so she more or less, it probably from that point, that's unwritten, but she expressed what she experienced with the Hellfire Club of what this guy is and what he's doing.
Interesting.
And we could possibly do the same thing, which gave her more rank really quickly because she expressed something to help the Hellfire Club grow as an organization with her abilities of being like minimalized when she was more or less using them selfishly into the fact if she becomes this major white queen player inside of the Hellfire organization and starts the school to recruit mutants against Professor X.
That scene almost sounds like when in the First Class movie, they must have kind of referenced that when they had Professor X and Magneto go recruit. Was it Pixie or it was a similar kind of concept there? Because
and so it's kind of fun. I love that dynamic of the fact that it's not just Professor X trying to, find a place for mutants to learn how to use their powers, but that's the beauty of the X-Men is there is other organizations trying to use mutants to their own means. So
there's so many, and there's so many exciting stories for the Marvel Cinematic Universe to explore. Just to have the mutants home, as everyone is saying, it's really exciting. But with this fresh slate, like who would you like to see, playing some of these?
Some of these new X-Men. Gosh, dude, those are some deep thoughts on that, man. It's like I said too, we were talking a little bit about how I somehow see Zac Efron getting into the X-Men as more or less that flagship draw actor.
Okay.
Into like whether it's Cyclops or we're talking about possibly Iceman.
Yeah. You know, I saw somebody posting like, oh, he should play Wolverine. I'm like, no, absolutely not. But, but I'll give you Cyclops.
Yeah.
And, so, we were just talking about casting, people are scoffing at, Robert Pattinson playing Batman. But if you're scoffing at him playing Cyclops, I mean, if you have not seen the Ted Bundy movie on Netflix, it was transforming. He did such an incredible job. I have so much respect for Zac Efron now. I mean, he's come a long way since High School Musical. Let's put it that way.
And Cyclops is one of those characters that you have a love-hate relationship with.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like Cyclops is not supposed to be your favorite character, but someone with Zac Efron, he can play both elements of it. Like when Cyclops has to make the tough decisions, when he's more or less arguing with Wolverine.
Especially if we do a young Cyclops,
Yeah, and it's like you need someone that's going to grow into being a long-term Cyclops. And I can see Zac Efron doing that because he's still not, do you know what I mean? He's still between his 20s and 30s, right? How old is he now?
I mean, that would be my guess.
And so if you're going to do like a 10 to 15 year run of Zac Efron playing Cyclops, you're going to have him mature into being a grown character.
Or even Iceman.
Yes.
Because, I mean, like, there's probably a few people that could play Cyclops. Because I had, right before we started the podcast, I suggested Clint Eastwood's son, Scott Eastwood. I think he's got a really good look. I mean, he'd be a little more of a mature Cyclops.
Yeah.
So maybe, if they did start with like a first class story.
Scott Eastwood is Wolverine then.
He's tall.
Yeah, well, so was Hugh Jackman.
I mean, so was Hugh. Yes. But like now that we've had Hugh Jackman, and Hugh Jackman did a phenomenal job, I would like to see. I don't want to see another Hugh Jackman Wolverine. I want to see a Wolverine that's short and scruffy and thick, and I think that'll be a way for people to be like, okay, this isn't Hugh Jackman. Like this is something a little different.
Yes, that's true. And then try to feel like that. Who do we get to play that Wolverine and be like super, super interesting to try to figure out who that would be?
I have not seen a good, fan casting suggestion aside from, I saw a suggestion for Tom Hardy.
Okay.
And I don't know, is that too confusing? Because he was Venom, he was Bane.
Yeah, he's all over the place. He can't.
But he's got some acting chops. I really think he could do it. But I mean, is it confusing?
Yes, that's true.
Because Tom Hardy, he's 5'9". We can squeeze him to be a little shorter. But really, it's probably going to have to be some nobody.
Yes, someone brand new.
Yeah,
in the scene here. It'd be interesting, like dude. Just trying to think of someone that's like thick and a good actor. I mean, there's a.
Was he a thick, hairy Wolverine?
Yeah,
cigar chomping.
There's an act or a wrestler named Tony Nese.
Okay,
he's in the 205 division.
Okay.
And he's got a little bit of like a Wolverine build on
Interesting.
him. So I don't know how he would be as an actor, but I don't know if you want to look up what he looks like. He kind of feels a little bit like a Wolverine type of character.
I mean, just from not being aware of who he is, like it almost sounds like you're describing Puck.
Yeah, a little bit almost.
What was his name?
Tony Nese. He's actually the 205 champion right now. But he's the guy that is
I see.
He doesn't have, I don't know how his personality range is, but he's,
interesting.
I could see him more or less built up to look a little bit more like Wolverine because of his size, structure, build.
I'm always hesitant to just suddenly cast actors, but I mean, just like we talked about with The Rock, you never know, you give him a chance and, maybe there's something there. But I mean, look at the guy who plays Drax.
Oh, yes, dude. Batista. Dave
Batista. He has done a phenomenal
job. Yeah, he's a
job.
better actor than he was a wrestler. It cracks me up, dude. Is like that they never really played with his range inside of the WWE. He was just... As it said too, he was just a meathead. I hate saying that term about people that are bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Because not many of them are meatheads, but he is that prototype just dumb. They used to call him the big dumb animal when he was in WWE.
Really? I didn't know
like
that.
When Edge, one of those big rivalries, they used to do all these promos about how just Batista never really thought things through. He was just pure muscle attacking you.
Okay, I didn't realize
you know
that.
What I mean? And it was just so drastically different than how he acts inside of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, where he's fun. He's a little bit more or less lighthearted compared to what they did with him in WWE.
Yeah, and it was such an interesting interpretation of Drax too, because I mean, Drax has a much more of a personality now in the comics than he did, during like the Infinity Gauntlet story.
Yes.
Because during the Infinity Gauntlet story, he was kind of like stupid, like the Hulk, Drax smashed, kind of a deal. And I think even when they split up,
that sounds like how he was in the WWE.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounded like to me. Because remember, they split up the Infinity Stones, and Drax freaking eats it. It'll be safe here.
Just a Drax house now.
But the way he played him, it was almost like this hybrid way that like he wasn't understanding, metaphors correctly. So I think it was a really interesting way of kind of doing both.
Yes.
And it made up for a very entertaining character. Like, that will never go over my head. My reflexes are too fast to catch it.
Exactly.
It was great.
Yeah. And then maybe that's something too. Once again, like Batista showed his range during the tryout because they were looking for someone like, when they saw that in WWF or WWE at the time, it's like, that's our Drax dude. That guy's just a muscle-bound idiot. You know what I mean? And just how they portrayed his thing. It's like, hey, Dave, would you like to come in and try out for this? And I think he was in maybe a couple other movies. I know he was in a Smallville episode where he played Doomsday.
Did he?
I'm pretty sure he was the one that played Doomsday in a Smallville episode.
Well, and he played...
either that or it was some kind of Kryptonian muscle head that Clark had to fight in one of the episodes of Smallville. Might have been Doomsday. I thought it might have been Doomsday.
I think he had like little bit roles in other things anyway. But I mean, after Guardians, I think he went on to be a Bond villain.
Okay, yes.
He played in it wasn't Skyfall. I think it was the one after that. But yeah, I mean Batista,
and he's getting more roles now too, which is very much like that. Guardians of the Galaxy Drax opportunity is growing his career now too.
Mm-hmm. And that's good for him.
Is that okay inside of Smallville?
Mm-hmm.
So I apologize, dude. I remember like him being like a Superman strength type of alien. I wasn't sure whether he was from Krypton or from other like a pit fighter alien, more or less.
It says he was captured by Martian Manhunter and banished to the Phantom Zone by Jor-El.
Okay.
And then decades later, accidentally released.
Okay. But that was the first time I ever saw him on something besides wrestling. It was like in that episode of Smallville, which was pretty fun. I go, it's just once again like almost like a pit fighter type of thing, fighting against Clark inside of Smallville. But yeah, it's cool to see like that, how some of these people are just picked out of nowhere and they just fit perfectly for these roles. And you don't expect them, like going back to the whole Batman actor that was just picked, that we don't expect them to be anything worthwhile. But then when they execute it, it's like, oh, point made. We get it. As you said, we know why you're the person in the casting call. It's not us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, same thing even happened with Ben Affleck. Even though I don't care for Ben Affleck's Batman, but I will say, like, he looked really good in that suit.
Yes.
And that was probably the best bat suit we've ever had on screen. So, I mean,
he looked good in 3 different suits.
That was the first that's a great point. That's
for one actor to execute 3 different suits, and all of them fit for the storytelling.
Yeah, even though it was just 2 movies and a cameo.
Yes. I know, dude. I mean, that whole, the future desert Batman where he's in the, I guess the overcoat.
Yep.
Over the Batman. That was pretty cool look. And I said too, like Ben Affleck, as much as people more or less knocked him, I don't think he did that horrible of a job compared to what everybody was, more or less saying, like, oh my gosh, dude, it's like that. He was a horrible Daredevil. Was gonna be a horrible Batman. Like, I don't think he was that bad of a Daredevil either. But
Daredevil was okay. I mean, like the biggest problem was, they had a hard time filming the fights with him. And so that's why that was another reason I was really confused why they picked him for Batman. Like, Batman's such a fighter, and you're picking this guy who had a hard time filming his Daredevil fight scenes. It was just, I guess it didn't matter. But I mean, especially if you watch the director's cut of that old Daredevil, like that whole extra storyline was really interesting.
Isn't it funny how long that or how far comic movies have come because they were afraid to do a 3-hour movie with Daredevil?
Yeah, right.
And then Infinity War or not Infinity War, Endgame just finished off being a 3-hour movie.
I don't understand.
We were never like, man, this is boring at all during the movie.
I don't understand why comic book movies are afraid to do long movies. I mean, it worked just fine for movies like Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
You know, I remember when they first announced the running time for X-Men The Last Stand, and I saw it clocked in at like an hour and like 45 minutes, I want to say. Like, I was incredibly disappointed. Like, you're going to do the Dark Phoenix saga in less than 2 hours?
That's what the new one's going to be now?
No. X-Men The Last Stand.
Okay, Last Stand. I'm sorry. Yes, dude. How long's the new one going to be now?
I don't know if they've said yet. Or no, they had to have, right? Because that comes out really soon. Let's see.
I hope they put at least 2 hours and 30 minutes into it. Or at least 220.
Yeah, I mean, like we were just saying, you know, it'd be great. It's Dark Phoenix is gonna be 2 hours.
2 hours? Yeah, man, dude. I guess Fox likes those 2 hour windows of.
Just a Digital Spy. I see here is reporting that Dark Phoenix is currently heading for an unwanted X-Men record, and it's on track to be the biggest disappointing opening.
Oh boy,
for an X-Men movie.
That's not good. I don't like the sound of that.
Yeah.
I said too, especially if this is your final wrap up in your whole saga. It's weird about how contrasting they are of, you know, just execution. Like the first X-Men movie was so well received. And everybody was so excited to see where this franchise was going.
Yep.
X-Men 2 wasn't too bad either.
I really liked X-Men 2.
Story was
especially
awesome.
For the time.
Yes. And then the more they went, the more they lost traction. I don't know if that was because Bryan Singer eventually left the franchise and he came back to it and then had to rebuild it all from scratch again, he thought in his head. And it would just went off the rails so fast. And then with the Avengers movie, you know, Iron Man started off and it was so strong. But then by time the Endgame was there, it's the highest grossing superhero movie of all time. You know what I mean? I'm kind of going, and now X-Men's coming to its end, and they've had all this time to keep on building on what they started off with such a great formula into being completely lost. Like they don't have Google Maps and they're trying to figure out how to read an old paper map.
It's weird. They were all over the place, and like they didn't even keep consistent, you know, with certain things. I don't know why the Fox movies were always afraid of the actual relationships between characters in the comics.
Yes.
Like, you know, the Juggernaut wasn't, you know, Professor X's half-brother or stepbrother. Mystique wasn't Rogue and Nightcrawler's mother.
I felt like they always overthought things rather than let things happen organically.
Absolutely.
And I think that was probably the biggest disappointment in the X-Men movies. Like, you're right, dude. It's like that. You had that opportunity to have Juggernaut, Professor X, have this like magical connection. His highlight of the movie is a one-liner. Do you know what I mean? And Mystique, it's like, let's make Mystique Professor X's best friend since childhood.
That was incredibly strange.
Yeah, it's like, well, why are you reversing Mystique and Juggernaut? Why don't you have that sibling rivalry? And, you know, Mystique's the one that fell to the dark side because she saw Magneto's light more than his. And I'm kind of going, man, dude, it's like that. You guys have all these beautifully written stories to go off of. Is it because you're afraid that you want to keep the audience guessing and being original based off the concept of like, oh, we love the X-Men so much too, but we want to tell stories we want to tell rather than what's already been told. But let's just use the characters we want to use to make these stories happen and have it be some beautiful storytell that fans are just going to say, wow, that was really cool. It was just so poorly executed. The fans never bought in at all. And
before like Days of Future Past, I mean, you had Sabretooth in the first X-Men movie played by the wrestler. And then you introduce this completely different Sabretooth, and it's almost like this feral version of Sabretooth doesn't even recognize Wolverine, or does he? And like what is happening?
Yes, and nobody had any clue. And it was just, it's I said too, again, especially that Days of Future Past is where you have Kitty Pryde and Wolverine in the comics with Rachel. But I don't think one of those three wasn't in. It was Bishop that took the spot of Rachel Summers, right? In that story where Bishop was the one that was able to push Wolverine through time. And then was it Kitty Pryde was or was it? I'm trying to remember now. I'm going back to it.
I don't remember.
But where it was like the characters were so interchangeable, it was so easy to use. It's like, were they afraid they would have to explain who Rachel was? It's like that. Oh, this is the daughter of Scott and Jean from a different timeline.
Well,
you know,
I recently read that Cable was going to be in Days of Future Past, but they didn't want to introduce him and kill him.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And they were like, yeah, we'll kill Bishop.
Yeah, great. Thanks. I know. It's like Bishop, all right, that's great.
I always thought Bishop was cool. I was a big fan of the Bishop character, you know, especially from like the 90s X-Men cartoon.
Yes.
You know?
And I said too, it was like that. I really thought that the way that Claremont was already off that by that time, actually, right? That where John Byrne, I think, was the one writing with Jim Lee before Scott Lobdell came on board. And he co-created Bishop with Portasio and John Byrne and Jim Lee. Well, I guess those three creators created Bishop. And I love the fact too is like that he came back in time to set up the Onslaught saga. Yeah, which to me was one of the most brilliant things they ever did, because when I read that X-Men 287, when Scott Lobdell took over by that time, they set up this whole thing of like Jean Grey doing that last broadcast of it was one of our own, and then how Bishop thought it was Gambit the whole time, because Gambit was the only remaining X-Men in the future that had all the secrets, but he refused to share them. And I'm kind of going, that would be an awesome movie story tell, is the Onslaught saga.
Absolutely. That's another thing we haven't got. I mean, we've had how many X-Men movies? We've never had Onslaught. We've never had Mr. Sinister.
Yes.
How long did it take to do a Sentinel movie?
Absolutely.
Like, it took like 10. That should have been like the first or second one.
Absolutely. And honestly, too, that was the pure threat to the mutants as far back as X-Men number 14. I mean, that's when the Sentinels first appeared back in like in 1964 or 65 at the latest on that. And you had those, oh man, dude, Peter Dinklage played the character. Oh my gosh, dude, the creator of the Sentinels. Yeah. Why am I forgetting who that is right now?
He was
a
Trask.
Yes, Bolivar Trask, right?
Yes, that sounds right.
Yes, dude.
I know it's Trask, though.
Yes,
you know, when they first announced his casting, I thought he was going to play Master Mold.
Dude, that would be awesome.
That's what I don't know. I mean, that's where I thought they were going with that.
Yes. And as I said, too, it was just like super, super, super important parts of X-Men history are the Sentinels. Yeah. And obviously, you know, Magneto creating the fact that mutants are a real world threat in that first issue, and then kind of going forward.
You know who I would love to see play Magneto? And everyone listening might even just disagree with me right now. But if you can do a different accent, I would love to see Liam Neeson
that'd be kind of cool.
Play Magneto.
That would be awesome, dude, because I can totally see Liam Neeson is that. I mean, being Ra's al Ghul already, and then obviously being Qui-Gon Jinn, just being that masterful understanding of everything about self. And just to have the argument with Professor X, those would be amazing dialogue with Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson is one of my favorite actors. I'm a little biased. I'll completely admit that, but I really want to see him integrated into the Marvel universe somehow.
Yes. He would be an awesome Magneto. I could totally see those dialogues just be amazing between him and Professor X, whoever they choose to be Professor X.
Where do you go from Patrick Stewart? I mean, he was Professor X.
He was awesome on that.
Like, where do you go from there?
He was just as good as being cast as Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark.
Absolutely.
I think he was the first perfect match for a comic book character coming off the page and into the screen. And before, you know, obviously Robert Downey Jr. being the second one with Tony Stark, and then kind of going
maybe
forward.
Argue Wesley Snipes' Blade.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, he was really good.
That's a good point. Yeah, Wesley Snipes' Blade does surpass that. That's a very, very good point. Completely forgot about Wesley Snipes being Blade there for a second.
Poor Wesley Snipes.
No, dude, he's awesome. He was perfect for it. You know, man, dude, Lou Ferrigno being the Hulk. You want to go back even further? You know what I mean? Paint the man green. The guy's the Hulk. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was hard to believe that. You know, like no one had a problem with like that guy, you know, being the Incredible Hulk, and he was a perfect fit for it.
I mean, oh man, we've come a long way since Lou Ferrigno Hulk. You know?
I know, dude. Now there is no human that can play the Hulk anymore. They'll all be computer animated now, which is pretty amazing that they had someone they found that was a human being to play the Hulk and make it convinced that, oh my gosh, this is actually the Hulk that could be in the
you
comics.
had to get a bodybuilder, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, I guess there's not much acting ability to be in the Hulk when you're the Hulk.
Yep,
I can't see Lou Ferrigno as Dr. David Banner. You know what I mean, dude?
That's true. That's true.
You know it here? It's like intellectual Like scientist Lou Ferrigno playing David Banner would not work back in those days, obviously.
For sure.
Yeah, but yeah, dude, it would be interesting to see who would be the new Professor X in that case. I don't know. That's a tough one. You really need someone that is a good leader of people.
Yeah.
And then an actor that can really execute being very cerebral too, as well. Just like, once again, Liam Neeson playing Magneto, you would need someone that can compete intellectually as an actor with that dialogue and be able just to hit it as like you believe Professor X is by far the equal to Liam Neeson as Magneto.
And it's a shame they wasted Mads Mikkelsen. Like, it would have been cool to maybe see him play Mr. Sinister or something,
Yes.
I mean, but I can't believe they wasted him on Caecilius. Like, that is such, I wouldn't even call him a B character. I'd call him like a C or D character.
He's a background character for sure.
I mean, I know that like he was just, a puppet to Dormammu.
Yes.
That's just lame.
And are we going to have like an older Professor X? We're going to have like a younger Professor X, like we've been doing with, like, is it McAvoy being the current Professor X?
I think we need
McAvoy Magneto. Like McAvoy is Professor X, right?
Yeah,
the current Professor X.
Fassbender's
That's right, Michael Fassbender's
is Magneto.
I really like that chemistry between those two too.
Absolutely, and they were great for young Professor X and young Magneto. McAvoy and Fassbender, like, they're both phenomenal actors. I think Professor X needs to be more in line with the Patrick Stewart one. You have the X-Men be young and Professor X be, this mentor. Of course, you don't want them to be too old because you want somebody to play Professor X in theory for the next, 10, 15 years, right?
Yes. You know who I was thinking on the top of my head too would be either an interesting Professor X or Magneto again too. Is
play one or the other?
Yes.
Interesting.
I do it.
Who is that? You're not talking about Matt Smith, are you?
No.
He was a Doctor Who? You're talking about the guy who plays in Jessica Jones?
Yes, the guy that plays Purple Man.
Yeah.
What's his name?
David Tennant.
David Tennant. Thank you, dude. Do you think he would make a good Professor X or Magneto?
Well, he's already Purple Man.
That's true. Good point, dude. So there goes that.
Interesting. David Tennant's a really good actor. Man, he's
because he was creepy as Purple Man in Jessica Jones, dude.
I don't know. I would rather see him play. I don't want to keep saying Mr. Sinister, but I think he's more of a Minister Sinister type
element to him too.
That's how I picture.
Yeah,
I picture David Tennant.
He would be pretty awesome as Mr. Sinister too, as well, because he's once again a cerebral type of villain on everything on that.
Well, and he's British, so I mean, can he play? I guess he's not big enough to play like Captain Britain or something. Because I mean, it would be interesting to have that dynamic with Psylocke. I wonder if they'll even do that, because that's kind of a complicated story. I don't know if it would really translate to screen with the whole thing with Betsy, and like her consciousness goes into another body, and like I don't even know how to properly explain it. Yes. It's kind of weird.
That's another actor that now that he's freed up a little bit is do we see Andrew Lincoln anywhere in the X-Men universe?
Oh, interesting.
Because he's such a huge fan following.
He's a good actor.
Anywhere as the X-Men.
Coral. Man, Andrew Lincoln.
Yes,
he's a good actor.
Can we pencil him in anywhere in the Marvel universe?
Interesting.
Yes. Because I love his acting ability. I think he's absolutely amazing as an actor. And I'm sure he's got range being British and seeing what he did inside of Walking Dead.
I would like to see also Jeffrey Dean Morgan, kind of. I mean, he was phenomenal as the comedian. I could not even imagine someone else playing the comedian. Man.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan would make an awesome Mr. Sinister.
Oh, how fun. Yes. That would be cool.
That would be
interesting.
Awesome.
I would be on board with that.
Yes, because that's it too, as he is with Negan. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just making him more or less play with play with science and just be so arrogant about it. And just, as I said too, is just keep all the mutants that he's developing in line, being the Marauders.
How creepy.
Do you know what I mean? Him leading the Marauders would be almost like Negan leading the Saviors.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Andrew Lincoln, I mean, could he be like Forge maybe? Or is that kind of too weird?
You need a big role for him, which is weird sounding. Do you know what I mean? Like, who would he? I don't know. I can't see Andrew Lincoln as a villain, but could he be?
I think it would depend on the villain. Did you have someone in mind?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like that. Could you have Andrew Lincoln kind of play Apocalypse type of character?
Huh.
Do you know what I mean? Because he's such a great leader as well again. But could you swing him into being a villain?
So Oscar Isaac played Apocalypse, and Oscar Isaac is, I don't want to keep calling everyone a phenomenal actor, but I think he's very talented and he's awesome. I thought he was going to do a great job, and like he did. Any way he looked or script issues, like that's not on him.
Yes.
Like I think he did the best that he could with what he had. But I mean, I'd almost like to see Apocalypse either be a CG character or
you could
a partial CG.
Lincoln, like when he comes out of his hiding and shows his true element of who he is.
I mean, especially in a flashback. I mean, he's not Egyptian looking then.
That's true.
So I think that's why they cast Oscar Isaac, as Apocalypse, because I think he had more of an Egyptian look that they were going for.
Yeah. I just thought for Professor X too be Zachary Quinto.
Really?
I don't know if you shave his head and kind of go a little bit of Siler Professor X there.
Huh.
I don't know if that's something that would. He was great as Spock.
Okay, that's a good point. I forgot he was Spock. He was really good.
Yes, and that's kind of like a cerebral type of Professor X type of personality.
Okay, all right, I take it back. That's interesting. Yeah. I'll give it to you. You talked me into it. That's interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing that audition.
Yes, exactly. See how he pulls that off, because I could see him in the wheelchair. I could see him just be almost like a Patrick Stewart type of
interesting
Professor X again, but a younger version of him that fits between both age groups as he gets to mature more.
Oh, fun!
And I don't know what he's doing these days. Zachary Quinto as an actor, if he's, I'm not sure if he's in any shows right now. I don't think he is he?
Zachary Quinto? No, I mean he was just. Yeah, I'm confusing myself. I was thinking about Zachary Levi.
No, not Zachary Levi. Yeah, Zachary Quinto, the guy that was Spock inside of Star Trek, and he was Siler.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was totally against it because I was thinking of Zachary Levi. I'm like, Shazam? No.
Yeah, dude.
No, my bad.
Not at all.
Yeah, totally. Yes. Yeah, I can see that. Why not?
Next, I think that'd be kind of awesome, Professor X, cerebral-wise, to go along with Liam Neeson. Because I said, too, pulling off the Spock of being the most cerebral person in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Type of thing. That would be someone that could have those great conversations of intellectual reasoning of what's the best route for mutants to go.
Yeah. Interesting.
That'd be kind of intense.
Well, before we wrap it up here, we got Phoenix Comic-Con coming up at the, Phoenix Fan Fusion coming up at the end of the week. What are you most excited for?
Wow. I said too, usually just Comic-Cons in general are just amazingly fun. Yeah. Like the actors, the artists are always my favorite thing to go visit is like see who my favorite creators are that you really don't get access to. Like for this year, like Denny O'Neil is going to be there too as well with Neil Adams, the creators of Ra's al Ghul.
Oh. And
so that'll be kind of fun if you're, once again, since we've been talking about Batman so much, that's kind of a fun thing to see in there too. Gosh, I'm trying to think of some of the other creators like that. I don't know if you're a big modern X-Men fan, but Ken Lashley is going to be there too. And he's one of the more recent X-Men artists over the past few years too. So that's what we're talking about X-Men as well. I wish we got Chris Claremont back this year, but I don't think he's here again this year. No, that would have been great.
I keep looking out for an announcement because we met him. I don't know, was he here like a couple of years ago? I think it was, and he was just such a good guy. I went to his panel. It was really interesting. He took the time to talk to us, and my wife, she's a huge Phoenix and Dark Phoenix Jean Grey fan, and like she was almost like in tears meeting him, and like I think he was almost like shocked, like she was like freaking out, and he took the time to talk to her, and he told her this whole story and how he wanted to like end the X-Men universe with Jean Grey, and like it was. Wow. I won't go too much into it because I don't know if I'm supposed to or not. But he was just he was incredible to her. And I would never be able to thank him enough for that. But I mean, Chris Claremont was a great guy. I mean, we're sitting here surrounded by a lot of my Lord of the Rings, replicas and movie posters. Like, I'm really excited to meet Elijah Wood. I've got an autograph. Yes. He's actually gonna
sign your poster.
Yeah, I've got a Return of the King theatrical poster right above my computer here. It's the one with Aragorn, Gandalf, Frodo, Sam, and Gollum, and Arwen. So I'm gonna have him sign that and kind of start some of my Lord of the Rings autographs, because I don't really have Lord of the Rings autographs. I've got a few of these cards because I got my Christopher Lee one over there, and I've got a Billy Boyd on the I forget who did these trading cards, but I think it'd be neat to talk to Elijah Wood and tell him how we almost ran him over in Manhattan. I don't have anything else to really say.
Speaking of actors, John Bowerman is an amazing person to talk to if you ever get a chance to.
Dude, the whole time we were talking just now about X-Men casting, I was trying to think of someone for him to play, because I want him to play somebody, but like I don't know. Well, I think there's lots of possibilities.
He could be a Mr. Sinister too.
Sure.
It's Malcolm Merlin inside of Arrow. I mean,
sure. Why
he's
not?
kind of a little bit of a mastermind, but I think he would be more of like a lower level, almost if you want to go mastermind, like, Jason Wingard, mastermind.
Sure. I mean, I could see him. I can see him be a few people in the Hellfire Club. I'm probably most excited to meet Lucy Pohl. We've got she's the voice of Mercy in Overwatch. She's done that, and I think she was some characters in WoW, and she's actually does her own comedy too.
Nice.
I'm really looking forward to that. I'm gonna have her sign a pop, and we're also gonna have Ray Park sign a Darth Maul pop, which we're pretty excited.
That's awesome. Kevin Eastman, he's going to be there too, the creator of the Turtles. He's always a fun guy to meet.
He's been there a few times, I think.
Yes, dude. And he's like, I guess he does, if you bring a book to him to get it signed, a lot of times he'll draw a little turtle head on there.
Yeah, that's right. I think I've seen that before.
And that's pretty awesome on there too as well. Like when you get to see the creators that actually create characters, to me, that's some of the most fun.
Absolutely.
Because it's you getting the chance to discuss with them their process of what got them into creating something that's Americana now.
Yep.
And like
that was one of the most fun things about Chris Claremont. Talking about like yeah, sure, you had Jean Grey, but like he made Phoenix.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's like that he made Jean Grey into the most powerful character in the universe. I mean, you could have Jean Grey when the Dark Phoenix was going, she was on par with Galactus. And to see something like, I would love to see, I mean, obviously, these versus things we talk about all the time is like Dark Phoenix versus Galactus. Who's going down first?
Galactus is going down.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Galactus
it's like that. Galactus is a force of nature, but Dark Phoenix is a devourer of worlds, too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and her force of nature is probably stronger than Galactus's force.
Why don't we have a what if about this?
I know, and it should be done.
So next week, stay tuned for some Phoenix fan fusion content that we're going to bring you. But we're going to wrap it up here today. Ken, thanks for coming again.
It's always a blast.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow. And thank you for listening.